Hello everyone. Really cool. I just found out about this. That one of my favorite games from when I was a kid came out originally in the early 90s. Um, was like a DOS only game. Fantasy Empires is now on Steam. Tied right into DOSBox, if I'm not mistaken. So it's really gonna be pretty secure to run forever. Like this is one of those games that for me was kind of lost for a long time. Important note, we're talking about a game that was made by Silicon Knights, the same company that went on to make Eternal Darkness for the GameCube. A really good company during that period of time. And I just want to show everyone how to play it because it's kind of clunky and weird. And so I'll just boot it up, I'll create a character, I'll start a match in a couple turns. That way anybody who's looking to try out one of these old D&D games, which obviously there's so many, um, can have a really good time. One of the things that I'll say is that somehow they patched out the need for the manual code lookup. Oh yeah, the game is loud. Wow. All right. So, for the record, if you're ever minimized like this in DOSBox, you just hit Alt Enter. You get it back. All right. So not a ton of options here. Scenarios can be fun, but campaign is, I think, where you'll spend the bulk of your time. So there's these characters in the game that you can click on the portrait. You get to read their backstory, learn kind of about how they go about their business, so to speak, in the game. But you're essentially playing a board game. Starting off in a random location and getting different tiles throughout. And so you're competing against other characters who have stats and levels, and we can kind of talk about how those influence things. But all of these are the NPC characters, right? So you can go way down. There's like 1 to 35. That way, there's a variety of levels for you to play against. So first we'll create a character. So you start off by selecting a portrait. We'll go with... so, fun fact, when I was a kid, my brother was always this portrait. I was always this portrait, obsessed with like Aladdin, King of Thieves kind of vibe, mixed with maybe Shadow from Final Fantasy VI. But we will go with this lady. That seems fun. Okay, once we've selected our portrait, we click the roll dice to begin. So I will do SD peaks for my character name. You select your class. For what I remember, so magic user, cleric, they're gonna generate magic points for you to have spells. I don't think your character influences it a ton as much as, but it will influence some. So whatever unit related gets a boost. So you'll be building units in the game, and that's kind of how the class, I believe, affects things. Alignment, I think is mostly for roleplay. And then you can type in a background just for yourself here for fun. SD Peaks is a moron. Okay. Once you're here, you can keep clicking the roll to re-roll your stats. So you got a number of different options, and again, I believe they influence the power of your units and how you level things up. I will tell you all that there is a cheat or a hack or an intentional thing that you can just click on the box and modify it to the exact. If you're like me and you actually really enjoy role-playing, I like to use this to be all right, I'll make this one the 12 that I rolled, and I'll make this a 3, so that you can swap them around. But yeah, we'll do just a couple here, see if we can find some good stats. Get everything for the most part into the 10s. That's whatever, good enough. I'm a fighter though, so I'll just swap Charisma to 13 and make this my 15. Good enough. Alright, actually, you know what? Let's lower our dex to 15, strength to 18. Okay. Once we've made all of our selections, we hit the plus sign. Your character's been added to the list. We can hit the minus sign, and we can go in here and actually delete profiles as well. So I can hit the minus sign and delete a character. I don't know, save space or something. You can also look at profiles, yeah, pretty much the same thing. So I've got a couple characters I've made and some enemies as well. Alright, so I've created a character. That's important. This main screen for setting up the game is where you will pick your character. So this is a player character, this is an NPC that we won't control. So let's see here, we're going to do a number of NPCs here just to grab them. And so they have different levels. So this dude's level 2, level 4. And what that means is that, so if they're a level 4 cleric, the heroes that they start with, because you start with one of each character class, is going to be, the matching class is going to be the same level. So if level 4 cleric, it means that they have a level 4 cleric in game, and the rest of the heroes in their starting party are half that. So I think rounded down as well. And so everybody else will be level 2. And we'll kind of see that in a sec before we get into it. But there's historical world and random world. So imagine a board game with a bunch of tiles on it, right? And what we're doing here is we're setting, like, do you want the fixed board of what it always is, or do you want to randomize the tiles? I've played this game so much and so long, I prefer random world. And then there's show all and fog of war. I honestly think the game is somewhat unplayable with fog of war, and I can show you that on the board. However, if it's all players, I think Fog of War is fun, alright? Because you can do, like, chair swap and things like that, and having multiple people. But we'll leave it as this. I'm just doing all these NPCs to make sure that we run into a battle. So once we're all set up, we hit check. And now we're launching our game. Okay. So this is the window. It's my turn. So the first thing, I am that shield. Oh, perfect. We have an enemy right nearby. I'll be able to show battles, no problem. So we have all these different buttons here. First, I want to go to the slider bars to adjust some things. So I want to turn down that volume. Okay, DM effects on. Okay, so over here, for instance, when we click on buildings, and the DM summons this book. So that's a part of the DM effects. It's neat little flavor context, you know, turning the page. But if you're like me, again, you've played this game a ton, oh boy, I am sick of seeing that stuff. So we turn that off. You can see how much faster. Much faster. Okay. Next is DM advice. Every now and then, this is our dungeon master here, this wizard that spoke to us in the beginning. He will interrupt your game to talk, and even if you turn it off, he will sometimes interrupt the game to talk. Specifically, like at the end of combat, it doesn't slow down the game at that point. But yeah, I don't really need your advice, dude. Detail level. So simulate. Just to go over this, you get into these battles, and the battles can be really long, but you can skip them and simulate them. So it'll just run through them, because this old game has this really cool battle where you get to see your units that you build go up against their units and march across the battlefield. It was so cool, especially because you could control your units. You could put yourself in control of one of those units and hack and slash yourself. It's really neat. But that said, I don't want to simulate those battles. I want to see those battles. When you build units, you build them often in 20s. So like if I order one thing of dwarves, which we'll see, it's going to build me 20. So long as it's not the hero and it's the regulars. And so this detail level is when you're having those battles, do you want the 20 to be represented as 1, or would you like it to be represented as 1-to-1? There are other options. I prefer 1-to-1 just because it makes me feel like there's this large scale battle happening on these old things. Oh, maybe that's where you can turn messages off and sound too. Neat. These are the control schemes. I don't really mess with them. I just kind of know the OG controls, even though it's not really stated anywhere. Okay, check. So now that my sound is down, now that we've got... actually, now I'll turn it back up for the video. Okay. Now that my sound is down, again, hitting Alt-Enter to full screen the game, I want to just go through these different buttons here. Okay. So we've seen the buildings. So this is a keep. When you expand into new territories, you build a keep on them to ensure that, because that lets you keep the territory even if it's unoccupied. 7,500 gold, very important. Armories. This is what lets you build regular units. It's what lets you build heroes as well as some other neat stuff. Castles. So castles are cool. So here, your starting place already has a castle. I can't show you the size of it, but it's this here. We'll look at it elsewhere. And so you can expand these castles. The reason why these things are like more pronounced, it's quote unquote, more towers, but it allows you to put units in them when it's time for battle. So that's pretty handy. So cancel out of that. So we have the plus sign. This is where we go to build. So I click the plus. It's highlighting here, meaning that I have slots open in my armory. So again, this is our castle. Each city allows you to build 9 unique buildings. The keep is in the center, always reserved for the keep. And so these buildings also during combat are on the map. It's so cool. You can destroy their buildings. And then, maybe you just get in, you destroy some buildings, you get out. It's really it's a part of the strategy options for what you do. So I'm going to switch to this screen, which is just showing me everything that's been ordered to build. Not everything takes 1 turn. So like for instance, this orc, which we see here, 550 gold, 1 turn. Halflings, 400 gold, 1 turn. But here we have heroes here in gold, and so they take 3 turns to build. Some heroes take 4 turns. Catapult, which will destroy walls. Now, I don't think it hits units. And so, right, if I'm attacking somebody's castle, I need a way to get into that castle. They can just hide their units in the castle and shoot their arrows at me. So I can get a battering ram that I protect to push down the main door. I can get a catapult to destroy little holes in the walls for my units to creep through. Otherwise, that's about it. Ballistas are nice because they'll shoot in lines and they do heavy damage to a single unit. I think it's a single unit, might be multiple. And then otherwise we have fighters, orcs, those kinds of things, halfling. So knowing that I like to expand, I'm going to, which I'll tell you my expand strategy. I'm going to build a couple elves, but I'm also going to build a couple orcs since we have a neighbor who's a jerk. One of the things, there's other units besides these. If you click on a tile, if you right click on a tile, it's going to tell you how much gold you earn per day by having that location. And then what units can be built there. You can see, for instance, here, this one allows for a magic user and a cleric, but we didn't see that in our list. And that's because there's specific buildings for the magic user and cleric to be built in there. So if I actually open this back up, we'll see those buildings past the castle. So Cleric Temple, Wizard Tower, that takes up one of those unique building slots, but also allows you to build 1 additional cleric. So I could build, 3 cleric towers, and then I'd be able to build 3 clerics at a time, and they would take 4 turns. Cool. This button lets me move units, which we'll get into when we're expanding our territory. This button lets me send heroes off on quests. So a part of this game is that those golden units can be sent off on quests. You can see it like this one's, they're all level 1 for me because my new character was level 1. And so veteran requests are for 0 to 4. Pretty much after each quest, your character is guaranteed to level up, so long as they're within those ranges. So once a character's level 5, I have to move on to noble quests. Once a character's level 10, I have to move on to daring, and so forth. Basically, every while your character is out on a quest, so I think it's kind of like 2 turns for veteran quest, 3 turns for noble, and so on, they have a chance of returning with loot. And it'll be one of 2 options generally. It'll be something for your character to equip, +1 bow is a simple way that like an elf could come back with a +1 bow and they would be doing more damage and stuff, and it would help with quests. Another thing that they can get is an item that goes into the vault, like a Wand of True Sight, a Wand of Death Magic, things like that, or Staff of Death Magic, or Staff of Lightning. And that lets you cast spells on your opponents, which is pretty cool, and we probably won't even get into that today. So, because I'm going to be expanding my units, I only want to send, I'm going to send my magic user off on a quest, and I think if I wanted to do that, but I think it'll be good. Alright. This icon just lets you examine your properties. Again, describe that castle. We can see our 2 armories. You know, this is the Wizard Cleric Towers. Our 4 heroes that are here, no regular troops, how much money we're earning, the type of terrain, which I think is really just like what's used for the battle map. Alright, so there's that. This is a really handy thing. It's like what icons do you want to see during your turn. So if I just go to this first one and hit check, it's empty. What this would tell me is if magic was used against my people, and if there was a battle at that location. Imagine, you know, you have 5 people playing, right? And 2 of them are warring with each other and take, you know, a half-hour long turn. When you come back, this view would help you understand what happened to you while you were away. And I think the game often recommends it. And so, yeah, there's a couple different icons, like what magic users are where. There's whether or not clerics, druids. Druids do blue magic. You don't see them very often, I feel. Whether they have siege troops, the types of heroes at the location, the type of regular troops at the location. So right, if I do the hero one, we can see the icon for elf, dwarf, cleric, fighter. And if I continue on, the regular troop types, and then the buildings. I strongly recommend doing this view every time. So it's when you're at here, you just go up and you're at buildings and troops. And so what this tells me is that I have armories, I have a keep, I have heroes at the location, and this location has a castle. If I had some of the other building types or regular troops, they would show up here as well. It's definitely a really good default view. Can't recommend it enough. Okay, other side. This is like the tapestry of the different characters that are in our game. We can send them threatening messages. We can request for aid from them, basically demand money. Or we can offer a treaty, like maybe, hey, let's do a treaty. So we'll even click that. Please, treaty. You know, the AI, I believe, does not care about the messages at all. But I have no idea. So I'm saying, hey, let's have a treaty for 2 turns. And I'll share some of my money to bribe you to do that. So we'll see if they take it. Okay, this is the vault. You do not have any magic items in your vault. That's where we would see quest items that we got back. This is simply to save. So disk off is load, disk on is save, exit is exit the game, check to get out of the screen. And so just to save, you know, here we'll just do test, enter. So, game is saved. This is the magic, which I don't have enough magic points. I'm level 1, my heroes are level 1, so I don't have spells to cast yet. And then these are the MP pools to kind of give you clues on how you're doing magic-wise. So, the brighter and more full it is, the more wizard points you have. The brighter and green it is, the more cleric spell points you have. And this is blue for druid. And then last here is kind of like an overall how's the kingdom doing. Basically, instead of just getting the info about a single town, you get info across everything. Alright, cool. We do have our mini-map down here for us to look around and see all these different tiles. Okay. So now I'm going to really start my turn, which opening turn is mostly sending a unit on a quest, putting in your build, moving troops to different tiles. So unfortunately each of these tiles is shared with this guy. Not really a great start, because you really want those early tiles to expand. I'm going to trust that he's not going here. And a lot of the times low level AI doesn't even expand on turn 1. But oh yeah, but part of my problem is it'll be 2 turns before I get my turn back. So to look at this tapestry, right, I'm the first player. So once I end my turn, it'll go through each player and come back to me. Except there's a skip that's going to occur, and it moves. So it starts with me. So I'm going to end my turn. Everyone's going to go. It's going to skip me. Everyone's going to go. Then it'll be back to me, and night spawn here will be the next player skipped. So I've moved my units. I've put in my buy order. I'm all done for my turn. Last part of the interface we didn't talk about is the end turn button right here. Click that. Bam. It's back to me. So you don't see the turns of AIs, don't get me wrong on that, but it doesn't even notify me that I've skipped. It's really only when you're in multiplayer with other people that you'll see the skip and see it happen. Rejected my treaty, what a punk. Alright. So, right now, okay, let's actually get out of this. So right now, I sent those troops over. Remember, it was 2 heroes. One of them's gone. So whenever you're taking new territory, you always have losses. For whatever reason. I don't know, maybe I'm a shitty leader, I don't know how the supply alliance works. It's just a mechanic of the game. And so, we lost one of our hero. I think it's always like the top or it's always the bottom. It's something that you can predict and kind of use to your advantage to keep your magic users healthy, because I wanted my cleric and I wanted my mage, who I didn't get a notification died this turn, so that's good news. But what you need to do is, if I were to end my turn again, they would continue to have losses. And in fact, I don't have anybody, you know, we know we're going to lose at least one hero. That would empty it, and the tile would just go back to default. So I actually need to build keeps. So that's what's going to allow me to keep those areas without risk of losing them. So now I have keeps. I hit my plus icon because I want to do some more building. So I'm going to do just that. So I don't have, you know, if I'm going up against a castle, right? Because everybody starts with the same stuff outside of hero level. I am a little worried because I don't have any real archers. I have halflings, which I think I'll do 2 to try and manipulate the AI. But for the most part, now because I'm close to this guy, I could move them back. I think I will, actually. We'll just go for it. So I'm going to move those back together to take this tile together, and then I'll be moving troops into it and building a keep. I've already done my build. Pretty much that's it. Early game is quick. Okay, my magic user's back. Perfect. So I'm going to drop those 2 off. I'll just leave it like that. We're going to do some more building for when all the troops move together. Let's see here. We'll do one more halfling, and then orcs. It's important to note that as you're building troops, right, so here's my overall income, and then the more troops I build, the less income I make, you know, from both cases. So just keep in mind, you know, if I'm broke and I'm building something and I know next turn I'm going to need a keep, well, do the math and make sure you can. Alrighty. I think that's it for me again. Okay. So I'm going to build. I recommend always checking and thinking about your keeps that you need to build right away. So I'm going to. These are mostly backup fighters that I won't be sending off to war. I am going to now move all my troops in. That way I have no risk of them dying. Once you're moving from occupied territory to occupied territory, you no longer have that risk of losing units. I'm sending in the mage as well to make sure that I'll be able to destroy walls. But I also have those halflings that can throw stones, because I want them to annoy and harass those troops. Like, so say they have melee fighters, like the fighter orc dwarf in their castle. I want to be able to hit them to agitate them to come out of the castle. So with that, I'll end that turn. I'll go back here. Cool, got my new recruits. I'm going to, once again, build a couple more. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I will send reinforcements. Okay, so this is the moving screen, right? I didn't actually talk about this too much. So, number 1, when you click on this, if it's saying, hey, where do you want to move troops from? And then the highlighted ones are the ones that you have troops at that you can move from. So if I click on it, it shows me what areas I can move troops to. I want to move it to this, and so now I see the troops that are in each of them. And so I could do almost like a little bit of an exchange. Like I could move a couple back, I could move, you know, others in, whatever. So what I'm going to do is send everything. So I click on the troop I want to send, make sure that it's going the direction that I want it to go, and you just click and hold for the most part. And then if I need to see more troops, I can scroll down to look through that. Anyway, once I'm all set, check. It takes at least a turn for them to move. If we're at C, it can take 2 turns. It can take, you know, once you're sending things by boat, it is, you know, I could go from here to here on the island tile set, which actually gets into why Fog of War sucks. So Fog of War allows you to see what's next to next to your whatever the kingdoms. And so if you're on an island, even though you're adjacent islands, you can't see who's there. Which means that if you're going to war with an island nation and you're an island nation, you have no idea where you're being attacked from, where they are, anything. You have to just go into each island, invading and capturing and doing what you can. It's a little ridiculous, and becomes a bit painful, just experience-wise. Okay, I got my troops at this location. Reinforcements are coming to protect it, so I'm ready to attack this castle. Because we like to get things started early. Alrighty. Check. So, I think that's it. Yeah, we can see these others. Oh, yeah. One thing I wanted to say about moving troops, which I'll have to demo it next turn if I can. But a bug that's in the game, once you start getting really far, especially like the island nations, you can imagine this scenario, where if I click on, hey, I want to move out of this city into somewhere else, and then I click on the map to help me see, like, okay, I want to go from this island, I click down here, and I click that island. It's actually not going to work. It's going to bug, and I'll have that bug right now. So you can see it's not under your rule. And what it is it's really basically restarting this. It's just a visual bug. Not a big deal. So if I need to go far, you have to scroll. You can't click on the map to help out. That's all I want to say about that. Alright, end my turn. Let's see if we get a battle. Alright, battle time. Ba-bow. Yep, castle, all that jazz. Alright, Halfling's range is really low. I think the AI usually starts in this area, and so I want to make sure that they're getting attacked, so I'm going to stack... Okay, let me back up. So, you have your attacker, you have your defender. If it's two players, you'll take turns. The attacker will place their things first, they click check, then the defender places their units, and clicks check, and then the battle begins. So, I have my units here that I'm going to place. You can only put 25 on a map at a time. If you have more than, if it's regulars, if you have more than 500 regulars that you want to place, what happens is once one unit is fully destroyed, another will enter from the top of the map and march on down. So that's kind of how you can have these really epic, really long battles. And so here we have any magic that we want to place. This button cancels unit placement, so if I do a bunch of units and I'm like, that's terrible, I can hit that, get them all back to place. These are the different strategies for your units to use. Assault is basically everyone moving forward, finding a target to attack, which I will be using for this, which I'll get into. We have Retreat, which is literally falling back and your units going back to where they came from. Again, that island warfare issue. If you're exploring islands and send them out and there's other people there, you can't retreat. You can't get on your boats and go back. You're engaged in a fight for your life. Barrage is, your units won't move at all, and anything that is within range gets attacked. So it means that if you have, say, orcs and halflings behind them, the orcs are going to just stand there and take damage from incoming arrows, kind of be a shield, and the halflings behind them will attack if something is in range. It's also nice to, say, give catapults and things like that time to destroy walls before switching to assault, because you can switch strategies during the game. Harass is your fighting units, your melee units will stay in one place, and except say my halflings, and they're out of range, and they can tell that they're not out of range. Instead of just standing around waiting to be in range, they will move up until they are in range. So that's that piece. And then, yeah, we're back to assault. Okay, so we are going to do assault, because I'm banking on my halflings drawing out those fighters. I'm going to just put them neatly together, 60 like that, because halflings are super weak. Give them some fodder, and then kind of stack that front door. I'm going to do my hero elves in the back. Cleric, I'll also do in the back. My mage, though, I'm going to do in the center, because I want him bombing right away. So assault. Let's see if I can this is any magic spells to help your troops. But yeah, now that I'm all done, I'm gonna click check. Okay. In general, it's all the F keys, F1, F2, F3, that like are buttons for this. Q, so directional arrows, right? Diagonals and stuff. That's what. So you can picture it, the numpad around Q, W, E, A, D, Z, X, W. Those are your movement keys. And then you hold space to attack. You can kind of see it's slow, wind up, and there it goes. So I'm going to hit F5 to relinquish control. I hear arrows, so that's really not good. Okay, so there's that. So what I'm going to do is hit F1 to cycle between my units. Okay, here's my mage. So I'm going to just start. I'm going to start bombing the piss out of them. So you can see on the mini-map that units are moving, and that's because there's holes in the defense now. Yeah, tough to see, and I'm gonna probably just do a couple more. So I'm hitting F5 again to give up control, and now I'm moving around to see. Okay, so there's those archers. Fighters, yeah, we're kind of having a laggy fight at the door. Yeah, and so you can see, this is what the mage did. It blew these giant holes. Mages are exceptionally deadly, but they are very fun. So, yeah. AI in this game is weak, I'll tell you that. Definitely needs to be manipulated. Okay, cool. So a lot of these have died. So you kind of see like what they're shooting at by following the angles. Sometimes it's nothing, other times they've just killed most things. So these guys are marching out. They're going to annihilate these halflings. And so I will switch to retreat using F2. So I went in, I did some damage to their units, but all in all, not nearly enough. You know, again, the halflings beat me. Those were shadow elves here and dwarves that they had. They also had fighters. So shadow elves are like 1,500 gold to build 20, and they take 2 turns instead of 1, like the orcs and such. But I should be saving my magic user and my my elves. Well, maybe. See if they get out. That's what those 2 dots should be. Yeah, they're out. Come on. Is it a rock? Might be trapped. This is funny. So it's a halfling. So I'm gonna hit, oh, maybe if I switch to assault? I very rarely retreat. Alright, so doesn't really matter. Got him. Okay, there you go. Retreated off.
Well fought,
So,
but not well enough, it seems.
You can see it was pretty brutal. I lost most of my orcs, cleric. They did have some damages, but no buildings destroyed. This is where you would see that report, so my mage did not destroy any buildings that fight. Yeah, all in all, not enough. I definitely rushed through that because taking on castles is tough. The way that their troops can just sit between. And it should be tough, right? That's your starting location. So, all in all, I definitely have pissed him off, but hey, should have accepted my treaty. I want to go back to here, I think, and view character. So this is one of my favorite things about this game, is that, let's see here, SD peaks. You can see that I've now fought in 1 battle. I've gained 60 experience. I've lost 4 heroes. I've lost 135 regulars now, and I've only killed 60. SD Peaks is a moron, though. It says right there. And so what's great is that after you finish a campaign, right? So once everybody's dead, I think that's the only, it's not 4x, it's just 1x. Once there's only one nation surviving or you've died, you end back on the main screen, but your experience points that you've earned get saved, and you keep taking that across multiple campaigns, getting higher level heroes. Allows you to start off sending them on better quests. It allows you to get more rare items right away. But that's kind of the cycle of this game, and I know it's a really quick look, but for this old game, it's running great. I have not had any issues while I've played a few games going back. So I've got to say, like, I highly recommend this old classic if it's up your alley, because if we can reduce the learning curve to it, that definitely makes it more accessible for everyone. So thank you so much, and I hope you get to try out Fantasy Empires. It's a dope game.